Welcome to a new edition of Gerety Talks, the award that brings together some of the greatest creative leaders each year to look at work from a powerful perspective. Today we have a special edition to learn more about funny women, the destination to discover, connect, and grow with humor that shows women from all walks of life how to use comedy and humor to build their confidence, explore their creativity, and have a voice. We welcome today Lynn Parker, founder and chief executive at Funny Women, to tell us more about this organization and its projects. Welcome, Lynn, and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Let us start with a little intro. Tell us about yourself and what Funny Women is.
Okay, so I have had a number of different careers, all in the creative industries. I originally trained as a journalist, and I spent my early career working as a magazine editor, writer. I wrote about fashion, I wrote about beauty, I wrote about sort of more or less anything, always to do with women. Everything I've ever done seems to have been about women. So I've worked for women's magazines, teenage magazines. So that was the early part of my career. Then I ended up in public relations, which was a very different world to the one we inhabit now, because I'm of a different generation, and it was pre anything digital. So life was very different. We were still typesetting and sending press releases in the post, and I remember the great excitement of getting my first mobile phone. I mean, it does sound like ridiculous now, but that was the world I went into. And so I've seen a huge evolution in the creative world all through my career. So I was in and out of PR and marketing for about 25 years and was consulting for, I'm going fast forward here, by the way, consulting with a comedy club in the late 20th century, so around 1997, 98, found myself working as a publicist for a comedy club in London. I've always been passionate about comedy. I grew up listening to a lot of comedy. My late father, loved the Goon Show and the Navy Lark and things you've probably never even heard of. They're all radio-based programs. So I grew up with the radio on a lot, listening to a lot of comedy. Then obviously there was the alternative comedy scene, and there were lots of programs on television that I was, obviously grew up with, Morecambe and Wise, French and Saunders, just always surrounded by comedy. And working in PR and marketing, you get to understand how important humor is. So I think that's how I ended up indirectly being asked to do the publicity for this club. And it is I'll keep the story very short because it's really quite boring and annoying, but I was working with a promoter who always booked men all the time, never booked any women. And I didn't understand that. I couldn't understand why, because I've grown up seeing a lot of women role models in comedy. I didn't understand why he couldn't find them to book them. So when I asked him why he never booked any women, he just said, well, that's because women aren't funny and there are no funny women. And as near as I've ever got to one of those light bulb moments in my life, I thought, this is ridiculous. I'm going to do something about this. I don't believe that there aren't women out there. What I didn't know was that there was a very misogynistic environment in the comedy circuit, and there was quite a lot of barriers to women performing, not least of which, women have other things to deal with, families, their own personal safety. It wasn't, still would argue that it isn't always 100% a particularly safe environment for women to go into if you're cutting your teeth on the live circuit. So I turned around to the comedy promoter and said, well, why don't we do a women specific event? Let's do something called Funny Women. And had one of those moments of lucidity that you get sometimes in your career. Someone said to me, it's such a great name. You need to protect that name. Buy a URL. I didn't even know what a URL was. I had no idea. We are talking about 97, 98. So I obviously found out what a URL was and realized it was to start a website. Bought the URLs, still own them, 25 years later. And Funny Women really was born in that moment. That was the kind of copywriting, other than sending yourself a letter with the name, eventually setting up initially a limited company. In the I think it was in about year 2000. I did all of those protections, but in between times, from coming up with my crazy mad idea and deciding to do this thing with this comedy club, the various people that I was working with, the American partner of the club had hired me, and he had a British partner. Anyway, they fell out with each other, and the British partner, who told me that women weren't funny, took over, and the American disappeared, and basically he fired me. I think I was too much for him. I was too mouthy, too annoying. He didn't think women were funny, so I was off. But I had meantime protected the brand. I'm actually quite, I think because I worked in PR, I've always been kind of quite brand literate, brands were important. So I thought, okay, I'll do it. I'll go it alone. And I put on a big event in 2002, which was called Funny Women. It was a big charity event. And I, from there, and this is where the sort of creative marketing thing comes in really strongly, I had lots of sponsors and people involved with it. And one of them was a brand called Baby Sham. Do you know what Baby Sham is?
No.
It's called a champagne perry, which means it's a sparkling drink made out of pears. And it was a very in drink in the sort of 60s and 70s, sort of, party kind of era. And my mum used to drink it. So it was they approached me. They'd been involved with this big event, the charity event. So I'm just going to get rid of something on my screen. There we go. They'd been involved with this big charity event, and they said, we love what you're doing. And they'd heard that I was interested in launching some female specific comedy awards. So they said, we love what you want to do. Why don't we launch the awards with you? And of course, the first thing they said was the Baby Sham Awards. And I said, no. Be the Funny Women Awards. Brand. And that was it. And they said, okay, that's fine. We'll sponsor you. And they continued to do so for 3 years. And in 2003, we launched the very first Funny Women Awards. We had, I think, just about 70 women enter, just to give you this is in 2003, for one award. And the last time we ran the awards, we've had a year off. So in 2023, the last time we ran the awards, we had nearly 2,000 entries and nominees for 5 awards. So we now have 5 awards for performers, writers, filmmakers, content creators, and we have an industry award. So there are 3 awards that you enter yourself for. So stage, comedy writing, comedy shorts. And then there are 2 public. One is a public nomination award, the content creators, which obviously that's now a huge market for comedy content creation. So we've moved with the times on that. And then we have an industry award where I just canvass everybody in the industry, a bit like the Gerety Awards, get lots of people involved in the industry to put forward names for a special award. And that's gone to all sorts of different people, from producers to performers, who've all made some kind of commitment to the world of comedy that we think is in keeping with our ideals. So that is the awards are really still today, even though we've had a year off, they are the beating heart of the award. They are the beating heart of Funny Women, because we are a talent generation platform, and we're now a non-profit community interest company, so that every penny that comes into Funny Women is reappropriated towards that talent generation. So we do make profits, and we do sometimes pay ourselves and we use the income that we generate to fund special projects, things like the Glitter Project and the awards, obviously. And then we've been working more recently in that community space, developing a concept called Comedy in the Community, which we've now done for 2 years on the trot, working with our local council here I'm based in Kent, in North Kent, in Medway. So there's a lot going on, and then we also do work with other people. So we often take commissions on. I've just had someone approach me. They want to launch a product. They want to use comedy. They want to use creators. Could I get a group of women together to do some content for them? So my role is quite weird, really, because I do a lot of curation for people. So I think because my background is journalism and PR, I've got lots of different weird skills. So it's interesting because I think everything I do now in Funny Women, all the things I did along the way, including having 2 kids and, doing all that stuff, somehow all work quite well in terms of what I do now, interestingly. And of course, I love a laugh. I mean, I love humor. So
yeah, of course. Who doesn't?
yeah. Well, if I wouldn't do it, who doesn't love humor? But yeah, sometimes you get people who don't get things. And sometimes I think we all do, I do it as well, take life a bit too seriously. But yeah, I think that's a very short version of how I got where I am now.
Okay. And is it mostly or only UK participants that you get, or?
No. We have a wider community, which has
Okay.
sort of grown organically and almost not by accident, but we started by obviously we're post-Brexit, slightly difficult, but we started to work with women in Ireland. So we have a Dublin contingent, and in fact we always have a strong load of entries from Ireland for the awards. They love humour in Ireland, so that's good. The other stronghold is Amsterdam, where we have a fantastic producer called Roxy, who runs a couple of nights there under the Funny Women brand, and she also oversees Paris, Brussels. Where else are we? Paris, Brussels. Should have got the list. There is quite a list, and then further afield, we're looking at starting something up in Mongolia. We've been approached. One of the girls that was in Amsterdam has moved to Taipei, Malaysia. She's running a night there. Amazing. And one of my board directors was actually on a trip to Taipei recently, and there she was on the other side of the world at a Funny Women gig. She said it was amazing.
Wow.
We've got a group in Montreal. I have a producer that I work with in America. She's based in Boston. So we have kind of, Basel, that's the other place in Europe. I knew I'd get there in the end. Basel, Brussels, Paris, Amsterdam. There you go. Managed to get so much going on, but they all run their own events, and they use all our branding, and we promote them on our website and everything as well. So it's and our social media.
And I guess everything is in English, or not necessarily? Maybe Paris has French also, or?
No, that's all English language, and that tends to be the trend in mainland Europe, that English is the language of comedy. I know that, having said that, I know people do perform in French and Dutch and what have you, but certainly from our point of view, it's all English speaking.
Okay. Wow, that's cool. And you did mention also within the projects that you have the glitter project. Can you tell us about it?
I mean, this is very close to my heart, actually, because firstly, the whole way of getting women, not necessarily into comedy, but giving women a voice, is all about mentoring them and supporting them and talking to them and encouraging them. It's this, and it's exactly the same as you do at Gerety. And it's really important that we give them safe places to develop and create. So I applied for a couple of lots of funding last year. I applied to the Arts Council England, and I also applied for a BBC comedy grant. And actually, we ended up getting both, which was fantastic. So we used the BBC Comedy Grant to launch the Glitter Project last autumn at the Edinburgh Fringe. And then we used the Arts Council funding to set up 6 regional hubs in England, where we're almost at the end of running a series of events which are called mentoring meetups and open mics. So they're free, people can go along for free, and they get a chance to, each of my regional producers run them slightly differently. So some of them have a speaker, some of them just mentor them themselves. I have to leave it to them. I can't handhold everybody, which is a bit of a problem. I am a terrible micromanager, but they're doing a brilliant job. So I've got 6 regional producers who are running these events. But the whole idea of the Glitter Project, the name, a safe place, we started it by mentoring people at the Edinburgh Fringe, which is huge. You arrive at the Fringe, you've never been there before, it's very bewildering. So to have people that you could come to who've done the Fringe, who've been at the Fringe before, who know all the ropes, was such a fantastic thing to fund. So we started with that. It wasn't originally called the Glitter Project, but one of our non-executive directors is a fantastic woman called Jo Fletcher Cross, who was going to take a show to Edinburgh in 2022, but she never got there because she was diagnosed with a brain tumour, grade 4 glioblastoma, and given a life prognosis of 6 months to 2 years. That was August 2022. She is still alive, which is amazing. She's quite poorly, but she's still got a sense of humour. And the show she was going to do was very glittery because she has a Substack blog called A Bit of Glitter, which she's no longer writing because she can't now do it, unfortunately. But her blog, which if anyone wants to look at, is fantastic, and it does chart a bit of her journey with cancer, so it's bittersweet. But she was a brilliant writer. She had a job as in trade travel magazines, so she was a journalist, and this show was all going to be about Dolly Parton, the singer, because she loves glitter. So she's so we've called it the Glitter Project as a sort of tribute, a legacy project for her. So it's a project which she's helped to shape and form. And I searched all sorts of pictures of her in action pre brain tumor, and we've used them as the artwork for the whole program. And Roxy, who is our producer in Amsterdam, is the most fantastic graphic artist. So if you look at any of the images for the Glitter, in fact, any of our images, including the one behind me, Roxy is the person who's kind of formulated the look. And we took Jo's pictures. And so she's very much part of the Glitter Project because she's in all the imagery around it. So we feel that she said to me that it's kind of given her something to focus on. And although she can't go to things and she's not well enough now, she's bedbound, just seeing everything going on and what we're doing and her picture on everything, I think is amazing. And obviously the idea of it was that it would live on as well. She would always be part of us. So it's very close to my heart. I'm very proud of it. And the pickup has been excellent. I think we've done the Arts Council proud. We will find out when we report. But, funded projects are quite hard work. And you really kind of have to keep on it and know what you're doing. So, yeah, it's been quite a journey. So that will start petering out around May time when we run out of money. So we are now fundraising furiously. Yeah, so if there are any amazing companies out there who want to sponsor us, that would be the easy fix, because it's been very tough to get sponsorship. The market for the arts is very depressed, and a lot of really big arts organizations have lost their funding. So we're all looking for people to partner us and work with us.
And because building your business is no joke. No. You also have created a big sister brand, Hilarious. I love the name. So
Yes,
can you tell us about it and the work that you do?
yes. So about, I think it was in 2018, before the world changed. I always think the world completely changed, but
Yeah,
it really did. And I
it
feel like
did.
that more than anything, I feel like what we've done has really been polarized by the pandemic. But yeah, in 2018, I worked obviously with my background and all the work that we were doing. We were doing quite a lot of corporate work. We were traveling around the country doing work with people like Airbnb and NatWest, doing a lot of corporate training and that kind of thing. It's all going really well. But we were also talking to a lot of women in the creative industries, and the main feedback was that the world of advertising was still a boys' club. And it was very familiar. It was, I thought, well, this sounds exactly like it was in comedy when I started out 20 odd years ago. Why aren't the women, why are young white men writing tampon ads? I mean, that's ridiculous, because really that's what we were talking about. And these women were coming to me because obviously there's quite it's quite a lot of synergy between creative comedy and the world of advertising. And I couldn't understand how it had come to pass that creative teams were all men. I mean, I do think it's changed again, but at that time, we decided that we needed to do something. So, two very wonderful young creative women came up with some designs, and I think they came up with the idea of Hilarious as a name. So, we created basically an extra brand. So, we created Hilarious as another brand for funny women. I had planned to start a new business in 2020, but we all know what happened then. So
Yes.
that never happened. And I wanted to have a creative consultancy that we could use, that would utilize all the talent that comes through the Funny Women Awards to write, direct, produce, anyone with a female orientated product could come to us and say, right, put a team together. Can you cast it? Can you find me a good female writer for this product that's sold to women? That was the original idea of it. And I think that has endured. I think we sort of still have elements of that, but the pandemic kiboshed it really and
Hmm.
put us on the back foot. So, but we've still got a body of work that we've done as Hilarious, and it's still, we have a website, hilarious.co.uk. And it is still very much a reference point for the work that we're doing now. I have just, what's been interesting is that doing the work with my local council and the community has shifted my thinking away from just doing things aimed at women, but doing things that are aimed at men and women together, so that we build allyship and we work together. So the new manifestation of that really is, I'm still doing workshops called How Stand Up, Stand Out, and running things very much as we always have done. But we started doing events called How to Have Fun at Work, and we've done that same format, which is a mix of workshops, discussion panel, and live comedy. We've done that formula now quite a few times independently as a showcase for what we can do. So pre-pandemic, we put on events with BBH. It was Twitter when we did it. We won't mention the other word. And LinkedIn. So they all hosted us. We worked in partnership with them. And then we came out the pandemic and we did another event, which by then we turned into How to Have Fun at Work with a proper name and a brand and what have you. And we did that with Grey London when Laura Jordan Bambash was there as chief exec, who's always been a great supporter. And I've done stuff with She Says, and so it's a small community, but we've all helped each other. So an event with them. And then, to be honest with you, it's been quite tough since then. So we've now started to do it more locally in our community. And we've just come out of doing a couple of events in the last week or so. I can read some testimonials to you because they're amazing. But yeah, it's really great, and all of these events are aimed at men and women together. When we did it last year, it was all mainly women. I think we positioned it differently, but this year we made a real effort to get men involved. We used all our same branding. They were really good about it. But I had male facilitators. But it's interesting. I think curating an event like that, I'm very mindful. I literally choose people that I think work with us. I'm quite careful. You've got to have the right people in the room.
Yeah.
With live events, I think live events are so vital and so important. We all spend a lot of time on Zoom and Teams and whatever. But when you go into a room with other people, if you're a good event producer, you're curating that very carefully. And I think I've learned that from doing the awards and always trying to choose the right people to put on the awards. So you learn as you go along. But this last event, we did one a week or so ago, and it was just so fantastic to see people in the room and see their journey as well. So that's a bit of work that I feel quite passionate about now, because having worked with women pretty much all my career in some shape or form, it's about time men listen to us. We've got something to say, It does make me cross when people don't listen to us. I'm still very passionate about that.
And How to Have Fun at Work is also a podcast now.
Yeah, in fact, the podcast came first. I started the podcast. I think I started it just before the pandemic, and then we carried on with it for a bit. I did 32 episodes. I do have a plan to bring it back, but I think because of the amount of funded work we've got and the relaunch of the awards, which we haven't spoken about, but we'll come to that. That has to take a back seat, because if you're doing podcasting properly, you've got to do your research, you've got to find good speakers. But I've got 32 amazing episodes. If anyone wants to listen to them, they're there.
After these 32 episodes, can you give us some hints on it, and what is the key to having fun at work?
Okay. What is the key to having fun at work? I'm going to read a testimonial for you, actually, because I think that kind of sums it up better than me saying it. Okay. Lynn, thank you so much for an amazing morning in Chatham. I had a great time. The idea of improv fills me with terror. So it was a real case of face your fears. And importantly, I did it because every time I lecture, present, or lead a workshop, I'm so thoroughly scripted. It's time to learn how to be more spontaneous. So I think that's a really good point. Spontaneity is key, particularly in the creative industries. And if you're improvising and using your prefrontal cortex skills, you're thinking in the moment, and that's when you'll get that brilliant light bulb, idea. So I think we're all too much in our heads. So, fun is critical to your communication and your connectivity at work. Because if you're not fun, no one wants to know you. Sit behind your computer and no one will talk to you. The other woman that sent me in a note, which I think is really good, she talks about the workshops and the panel discussion, but she says, importantly, it gave me space to reflect on my own business and journey. It really helped me to think about my next steps in business and personal development. I came away inspired about my business and my vision. I also met some amazing people, which is, I think, important, public life. What a great event. I cannot wait to do something else with funny women. Thank you for creating such magic and fun. So I don't think there is a specific formula. It's all about injecting those playful moments into your working life. And we lost it for a while because we were all stuck on screens. A lot of us are still stuck on screens. I'm not for remotely suggesting that you go and tell jokes to all your work colleagues. Fun. One of my facilitators, Alex Gilbert, said at our event that fun is a feeling. And I actually think he nailed it. That is so true. It is a feeling. It's like you go in and you're excited, and you want to be in an office with the people that there because you like them, and it's fun. You go into a relationship with somebody because 9 times out of 10, top of the list is they're fun. People who aren't fun aren't worth being around, really, are they? I mean, so having fun at work. We spend so much of our time working.
Yeah.
Going somewhere day after day and it's no fun, that's miserable, isn't it, really? But it's about also fun is very much connected to creativity. As again, looking at past Gerety Awards and the ads, I mean, they translate in any language sometimes. It doesn't really matter what your first language is, but you get that sense of fun. That's what I love about comedy, because it comes in many different forms, visual form, verbal, whatever. But, a lot of humor is very specific to regions, but it's all very translatable. We find out about each other and our culture through humor and fun more than we do through serious stuff, I think. I mean, somebody very literate will probably argue with me on that, but I think it's up there for me. Fun is a feeling, as Alex said, and I think that's really important.
Cool. And you have received several awards for your work, like Most Inspiring Businesswoman in the Best Businesswomen Awards 2024, honored with the 2024 Athena 40 Leader of School Impact Award, and recognized as one to watch by WISE 100 Women in Social Enterprise 2024. Congratulations, by the way. What do these recognitions mean to you?
I'm in my 60s. So, to get awards now at this stage of my life seems quite hilarious to me. But it is also lovely to be recognised. And because I had a year off of running the Funny Women Awards last year, I was encouraged by one of my board directors to enter some awards for me. She said, "You've got to do it. Come on, get those entry forms in." So she helped me with a couple of them, and we did them. And I didn't expect to win anything. So it was just really lovely to be honoured and recognised, and it gives you your self-worth. I think it's slightly different to the awards that I run, and possibly to the awards that you run. But those kind of personal awards where someone says you are the most inspiring businesswoman, I mean, I actually never think of myself as being inspiring, because I'm always in the work. I'm always doing what I'm doing. I very rarely do any of us really stop and think about our own achievements. So I would say that was a really good thing for me to do, because I looked at my own achievements, actually won some awards and got some recognition for it. I particularly like the idea of social impact, because I think that Funny Women is about social impact. It is about, diversity and inclusion and equality. It is everything. And to be recognized for that is pretty special. So yeah, my head isn't growing. It's now another year. So that was last year. And I'm not sure I'm going to have time to enter any awards this year, because this is probably shaping up to be pretty busy, because we're launching the Funny Women Awards again. So, it's all going on at the moment.
And you kind of already mentioned many things about this, but why is comedy important to you?
Oh, why is it important to me? Well, obviously, I've made a latter part of my career around it. I think we haven't talked about the awards, but given that it was created with the idea of generating new talent and making a particular industry much more equal, I still think that's important. I still think there's work to do. I launched the awards in 2003, and I remember vividly 5 years in thinking, I've probably done enough now. I've probably run it enough times. There's enough women. That a couple of female comedians who were quite well known at the time turned around and said there's quite enough of us now. We don't need any more, which was interesting. But I know that it's much tougher for women coming through any creative industry. Actually, we are still have to punch above our weight. So that's why I think comedy, humor is important, and how we present it is important. And because we've got the Funny Women Awards running now again this year, we've got a new partner on board, which is amazing, because without them we wouldn't be doing it, because we can't fund it ourselves. So we're working with BBC Studios and Funny Parts, which is YouTube based. So it's all around generating content. So that's going to be fantastic, because you're going to start seeing all this new talent is going to come through, and you'll be able to see it as well. So something we've never been able to really invest in before, because we just didn't have the means. So that's really good, and a real reflection of how comedy has changed, because a lot of comedy is now generated online. So working with the BBC is fantastic for us, fantastic experience. And I really think that's going to change and help us to spread the word of, how important very female specific, or those who identify as female as well. We haven't talked about that, but I feel very strongly that non-binary is something we recognise. Seen quite a lot of women who now identify as non-binary, and we honour that and we respect it. So we're trying to reflect how society is changing and how we can accept it. And comedy is a great platform for that.
And a last question to wrap up. What are your hopes and expectations for Funny Women this year? What would you like to achieve?
Oh, right. Okay. I've thought about this question a bit, because I've kind of alluded to it a bit, but the fact that we are still fighting the fight, I don't like using battleground language, but it's still quite tough for women on the circuit. So what I'd like to achieve is that we get more funding for the Glitter Project, so that we can continue all that work that we're doing by creating a safe place for women to go and experiment and try comedy out. They don't have to stay in comedy, they just try it out, because it's a great way of building their confidence and just having a bit of fun with each other, and networking. So that is a really important thing on my wish list. I want to pass on my baton as well. That sounds ridiculous, but I think my place now is in that sort of broader communication. I trained as a journalist and as a writer, and I'm sorry, but writing articles on LinkedIn doesn't do it for me, but I have to do it. I would like to sit down and write the book that I've been trying to write for 10 years. I really love judging other awards, because it's really great to see other talent coming through from different angles. So I'm a judge for the Musical Comedy Awards. I've done some judging for a couple of other broadcasters. I think the plan is to do some stuff with you guys as well. So that's really exciting. And I think that I've got a lot of experience and knowledge that I've built up, because I've done this for so long. So being able to use that to help others is great. I want to run more workshops, because I love doing that. If everything else fell away and I could only do one thing, I would run my stand up, stand out workshops for women, because I like it when I have an all-female group best. I'm happy to have men in, but I'd still prefer women. I'd like to speak to more. I'd like to do more with the creative industry. I'd like to talk to more people in advertising. And I don't feel I've ever been taken very seriously by the creative world, and yet that's my background. And I look up to some of, we mentioned Laura earlier. She's a fantastic and inspirational person as well. And I look at what she's done with She Says, and there's a couple of other organizations as well where they've got really strong female leadership who've really shifted the bar. and I'd like to be more involved with those people. So
Hmm.
so I'd like to do less hands-on and more consulting, because ultimately I have a very funny 2.5-year-old granddaughter who I need to spend more time with.
Ah, that's nice.
That's important, you know.
Of course.
He makes
Of
me
course
laugh
it
more
is.
than anyone.
Thank you so much for telling us all these great things about funny women and tell all our community about all the great projects that you're doing. Hope everything goes great with the awards and with all the projects this year and the next years too. Thank you.
Thank you.